Welcome to the Tarot Tapestry, a weaving of self-discovery, where three tarot mavens put their heads and hearts together to offer their wisdom and insights about the tarot. We hope that you find this helpful in your personal journey to self-discovery and growth.
Join us as we explore ways to use tarot for self-reflection and self-correction.
Together, we'll discover new ways to use tarot to weave threads of understanding into the tapestry of your life.
The Fool kind of embodies all of the pages because, and like the Fool is, like you're doing your thing right now. You're like the seeker, the one you're doing a new thing, and you're having to use all of these facets of yourself that are illustrated in the pages, like learning about your passion, like how to do it, how to bring it from an inside idea to an outside thing with the wands, and with the swords, like how do you want to organize it, how do you want to communicate it to other people, and the pentacles, how are you actually going to do it? I feel like, and the cups, of course, like making sure that you feel good about it and you're taking care of yourself emotionally and everything. So I feel like the Fool is where you kind of start, and then you sort of individuate into each one of these facets of creativity and exploration and the beginning of something new. And then with the Magician and the Aces, the Magician has all of these tools here on their table in the RWS. And it is like all of these are like an offer. The cup is, an offer to explore your emotions or to follow your emotions, and the wands is like maybe the light bulb going off over your head, and the pentacles is like these are your resources, whether they're big or small. This is what you have to work with, and it's all kind of like that's how I feel about the Aces and the Magician. The Magician is a manifester in that they understand that they have some degree of everything that they need, even if the degree is zero, even if the number of what they have is zero, is having the understanding of how to manipulate and kind of blend all of the elements into what they want to make.
That was perfect.
Today, we're going to discuss the relationship between the Fool and the pages of the deck, and the Magician and the Aces of the deck, and how they inform and expand on the meanings of each card. And the way I see the Fool is this is who you are when you're just starting off on a new adventure, of course, like we talked about in the episode we did about this card. And you don't have all your ducks in a row, but as you go down your path, right, you discover in the, like with the Page of Cups, you start to decide what's important. How do you want to feel in this adventure? And with the Page of Wands, you're learning how to manage your passion for whatever it is you're starting out with, and how to make it come from an inside, ideal, and how to start bringing it out into the real world. And with the Page of Swords, you're learning how to communicate your ideas. I need more Page of Swords today. I'm not very good at communicating today. And with the Page of Pentacles, you're okay, what do I have to make this happen? What do I need to make this happen? It's all very curious, but it's just like you are with the Fool. When you're the Fool, you're curious, you want to know everything about everything, but as you start to get a little bit further down the path, you start to see what it is that you need from each facet of, the energy that you're working with, the ability to create something and to explain it, and to, enlist help from others to make it happen. So I think that these and all of these cards kind of inform one another. Like if you pulled the Fool and the Page of Swords, maybe you're starting a new adventure, and maybe you need to pay a little closer attention to the fine print. maybe you need to focus a little bit more on clarifying your idea, coming to a more, one pointed idea of what it is you're going to do instead of trying to do all of the things at one time. And then with the magician and the aces, the magician has all of these tools on the table in front of them, and they know that they know what they've got. They can start deciding how to combine what they have to make more of what they need, or to lessen what they have too much of, and to make something, to build something out of what they already have. Like every ace, I feel, is an offer. Like, here it is. This is what you have. It's not always, when you pull the Ace of Pentacles, it's not always you're gonna win the lottery, or you pull the Ace of Swords. It doesn't mean you're gonna write the next bestseller. To me, it says this is the resource maybe that you need to concentrate a little more on. Do you have too much? Do you have not enough? Do you need more? Do you need to ask somebody who has more access than you do to this? And to start, how the magician manifests is they have to start thinking about all of those moving parts and how they want to put them together. So that is my.
And it was a great one. It was a great description. I love that idea of looking at the magician and his table and all of those elements that are present there. And what I think he's saying to us is that you have the potential to use all of these tools that are here, right? And if you really think about it, we have the potential to do everything, right? We have potential to, use our minds and our intellect and our thinking to help us get things done, right? We have the potential to look around at our resources, right? And say, okay, this is what I'm going to need in order for me to do something, and we have that potential to go inside and use our intuition and understand our emotions. And like you said earlier, we have the potential to make sure that we're doing these things for the right reasons. Like, we want to feel a certain way, right? So I love to look at the aces and the magician working together to say, okay, all of this potential is inside of us, and you are the magician, and it's up to you to decide which ones you're going to use. How are you going to combine them together in order to manifest whatever it is that you want to do? So I absolutely love that. And you have totally clarified it for me, because I wasn't sure, when I was preparing for this, really how to make that connection. So I really appreciate what you did.
So I went back and I got another new deck. I finally picked up a copy of the Modern Witch, which I've been wanting to have for a while. And so I pulled out the pages and the aces and the magician and the fool at the top. First of all, let me just say, this deck is just a Dyke's heaven. This is such a lesbian deck. I mean, I love it. So just a side note. Anyway, I can go with that. I actually think the pages and the aces could go with either one of either the fool or the magician, because they're both about, at the beginning, the fool and the magician, first two cards in the deck. So very much about beginnings, about getting your ducks in a row, whatever. And the pages are the youngsters of the court cards, and I still do tend to think of the hierarchy of the court cards as in the medieval days. So I know that when a page became assigned or apprenticed or whatever they called it to a knight, their goal was, to become a knight in their own right after they went through the training, after they, if they were of the right family or the right bloodline or whatever you called it. I don't think the pages or the knights would aspire to become a king unless they happen to be related to the royal family. You just never know. But in those days, knights were considered to be pretty high status people. And so as a page, that would definitely be an aspiration to then become a knight as you got older, as you became more experienced, as you went into battle, following your knight with their weapons or their armor or whatever. So I kind of look at it that way. So, they're usually young. There is a quality of innocence, which definitely goes along with the fool, because the fool has this, when I say innocence, I don't mean like being gullible. I think there's a wisdom to the fool that is not jaded. That is they see things, they see things with their eyes wide open, but they don't have that veil of cynicism that we get a lot of times, as we get older and we have experiences that color our vision. And it's like, you see for instance, you see somebody come up to you and you think either, oh, they're going to ask me for money, or it's going to be a gross guy trying to hit on me. And it turns out that somebody just comes up to you and says, oh, I really like your shirt, or, whatever. And you were thinking that, they were going to have something negative to say to you. And it turned out to be a very positive experience, that kind of thing. So, I think the pages are like that with the magician, because they're kind of going into their training or whatever, however you want to look at it, with excitement. And they're thinking, oh, this is something I wanted to do. It's been in my family. I'm old enough now. I'm experienced enough. I'm ready to do this. And, there's an excitement and an enthusiasm there that matches the fool. So yeah, I think that's a good matchup as far as those people go. And I just feel like, there's just this quality of not, when I say inexperience, I don't mean that they just don't know anything. They have some life experience. They have some basic knowledge. They have some abilities, but they're just sort of like on the edge of being a blank slate where they can create, it's just that feeling of excitement where, I'm excited to step into my life. I've never done this before. And so I don't really have any expectations, but I want it to be good, and I want it to be fun, and I want it to be full of a lot of experiences. I want to have, all the experiences that I can have. And I want to learn. I think that's the big thing about the pages, is they want to learn.
Yeah, I love that. I think that is beautiful. It's like, when you were talking about, with the pages kind of following with the knights, right? That is all, there's no action, right? They're just sitting there learning, they're listening, they're observing, they're figuring stuff out. They're not taking action. They're not telling the knight what to do. The knight is telling them what to do. And they're just kind of like absorbing everything that they need to know. And I love that about the pages. And I think
it's
I just
like the
love
classroom of life.
Yes, that's like what it is. And I love being in that stage of the pages, because, and I guess maybe more with the page of wands, is just that like excitement. It's like this electricity that is like inside of you, moving around so quickly. And it's like, it makes you want to just like get up and like do and learn and understand and explore and grow, and all of those like great feelings that come along with it, and then, as you continue along, then you head over to the knights, and now it's like you have to take action, and that step from the page to the knight is really scary. Like there's something very comforting and comfortable being a page, and sometimes I don't want to take that leap or that other step, to kind of go in the other direction. So, and I can see how like if you were to pull the pages in reverse, like what would be maybe the darker side of that, could be that, like that insecurity, right? That, maybe I'm not really ready for this, or you're doubting yourself, or, you have
there's a lot of responsibility in becoming a knight. And so there's a lot of responsibility in,
fully adulting. And so,
Absolutely.
it could just be that reversal is like, well, I don't know, I'm this far, maybe this is enough. And I don't know if I want to really step into that next step, because then the responsibility is all on me. And
Absolutely.
I don't know if I'm ready for that yet.
Say that maybe it's because I am mostly an air sign. Like I have an Aquarius sun and a Libra moon, and I've got a lot of airy stuff in my thing. But I feel like the Page of Swords is the adultiest of the pages, just because of their element. Because if you drop a wand, I mean, we know that the wands are fire, but this wand is not on fire. If he drops the wand, he dropped the wand, right? Like, oh poop, I can try again. And the same thing with the cup. He can pick up his little fishy and put him in a bowl. And the pentacle, if you drop a penny, you dropped a penny. It's no fun to lose money. But if you fuck up with a sword, somebody could lose a finger or an eye or something. So I kind of feel like the Page of Swords out of the pages is like the least immature. Like they're still immature. They still don't know what the heck they're doing yet, really. But they understand maybe better than the others the gravity of needing to learn how to do this effectively without hurting themselves or someone else.
That's a really interesting take. And I was just looking at this little Page of Swords is so cute. I mean, she's just,
That's a cups, I think.
Page of Cups. Yeah, Page of Cups. You're right. Sorry. Once again, blaming it on Mercury. But anyway, I think about this card.
Tell people who were all really like.
But this is the card. This is the person who would have a conversation with someone that nobody else would think is worth it, that would know how to communicate maybe with the knight's person who, is maybe the cook or whoever, so temperamental. Cooks are notoriously temperamental about whatever. And this little page could go in there and communicate with that person, and not putting it on the level of maturity, because I totally agree with what you said about the Page of Swords and having to handle that sword and, understanding that they have a dangerous thing in their hand. And I get that. And I love that, actually. That's really cool. But I think the ability to be able to communicate with people that are from all different walks of life, which is something that I have done in my life. And people will look at me and say, well, how can you fit into that? Like when I was working at the restaurant in New Orleans, I had a friend from college come to visit me, and I took her back in the back and we talked, and I worked with people that I had never encountered in my entire life, but yet we worked together really well, and I liked them and they liked me, and we had a good time. And she's like, I couldn't go back there. I couldn't work back there. I would be like literally a fish out of water. And I said, they're just people. They're just people, when you talk to them, and that's what, going off on a tangent here. When I try to keep in mind when I'm thinking about people on the other political spectrum, is like, they too are also just people, even though they have these wacko beliefs. And so I have to try to keep that in mind, even when I don't want to, even when it would be really easy to say, you're not worth my time, or you're not worth whatever. They're still people.
That from the page into the night is like comparable to the step of the Fool into whatever page. Like it's the willingness to learn about
right,
the thing, and it's the very beginning, and it's where you first start to, I think, understand that it's not just you.
Yeah, and it's not just about brute force. Although, when you see a knight in armor and their weapons, you think, oh, going into battle and doing that. But there's also there's a part of the knight which is chivalry, and courtly behavior, and dealing with people, in a way that doesn't harm them. Yes, when you're in battle, you have to fight against your enemy, but you're, as a knight, they were the people, whereas maybe the soldiers would go in and pillage a village or whatever, but the knights would try to stop that because that was not chivalrous behavior. You defeated your enemy on the battlefield, you don't take it out on women and children.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was that code of chivalry. And I think, that points to the ability to communicate that Page of Cups has.
The Fool is moving toward the pages, if that makes sense. And then the aces, though, are being offered to the magician or discovered by the magician to use. So
right.
I feel like maybe the flow of energy is different.
Well, that's interesting, because when you were talking about that earlier, I kind of was thinking about that, that, I don't know, Kate, have you seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail? About, they're talking about, why do you think you have to be, how did you get to be king, just because some watery tart threw a sword at you or something like that? And I kind of think about, because all of these in this deck, all of the aces, which is not always, but I guess in Rider Waite too, they're all the hands out of the cloud.
Yeah.
So they're being handed. It's like, okay, well, here's your beginning. So now you have here's your sword, here's your wand, here's your cup overflowing in your disc. Now you take them and go on about your business and create what you need to create. So that's really cool. I like that, because I was kind of having a hard time, relating the pages to the Fool. It was simple in my head, but I was having a harder time with the aces and magician, but using it that way, it makes a lot of sense.
I think we kept interrupting Kate.
Yes. It's Kate's turn. Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
You know what? It's, I'm going to again blame it on Mercury retrograde, because I lost my thought, but I'm going to go back to a previous thought. And that was when you were talking about the page and your job. Like, one of the things that I wrote down and was really thinking about with the Page of Cups was, like the Page of Cups, they represent, like, in my opinion anyway, like an emotional openness and sensitivity, right? Like, if I am in a stage in my life, or I am being a Page of Cups, I see myself as being vulnerable, right? As opening myself up to new emotions and new feelings and new experiences and new situations. And I am learning and exploring how to navigate this new experience of emotions. And, I think that ties in very well with what you guys were saying about the Page of Swords, right? Because if inside, if my heart can, and this is going back to what you were saying, Linda, about working in the kitchen, if my heart, right, the Page of Cups, if I can work through my feelings and my emotions in relation to new people, new ideas, and new experiences, right, that is going to automatically help with my thoughts and my thinking, and then even like you were saying too, Angie, about the Page of Swords being the more mature one. I like that idea too, because you can look at it too, like, sometimes it's okay to not have the emotions involved in things, Yeah. Sometimes you can do more if you take the emotions out of it, and like maybe, Linda, what you were doing when you were working, with this diverse group of people was, I don't need to bring these emotions. Like, I'm doing this job. I have no reason to feel any way. I'm doing a job. They're doing their job. This is my work environment. All of that other stuff is not necessary. I don't need to bring it into the equation. And I like that. And I really, like, I always had a problem with the Page of Cups, because then I just always felt like even the Knight of Cups, the Page and the Knights, I always had a problem with really understanding how that fits into my thinking of tarot. And, I came across somebody somewhere, something mentioning this emotional openness and these experiencing like new emotional experiences, and how, that is like ultimately what I think as human beings, we all want to aspire to, or even if you think about the spiritual journey, right? And I also see the pages as those that are working through a spiritual journey, right? And the fool, like the fool is the one that is first going heads into that spiritual journey. And then the pages are like, well, we need to, work on our emotions, and we need to work on our intellect, and we need to work on our motivation and enthusiasm, and we need to make sure that we have the resources, like all of those things that are involved in it. And yeah, I just lost my train of thought.
Yeah, I think of the Page of Cups as keeping an open mind and being open, to talking or to communicating or to sharing ideas with people or of different backgrounds or experiences than what they have. I mean, this little page looks like she's having a conversation with this fish. Now it could be like she's looking at it like, well, how the hell did this fish get in my goblet? It could be a lot of things, but she's not freaking out. She's very calm. She's just looking at it like, oh, well, okay, let's figure this out. And I think, that it's sort of like when you have a baby, or a toddler, and the toddler falls down or the toddler has an experience, and they kind of look to the adult like, how should I react to this? And if the mom says, oh my God, you fall down and hit your head. Oh, could you have a concussion? Oh my God. The toddler's going to go, woo. But if the mom goes, oh, look, you had a boo-boo, you're fine, and you stand up, we're going to look, dust off, you're okay? No, you're good, let's go play. They're going to go play and be fine, and so they take their cues from the adults. And so I think that, these pages are kind of telling us that, we can look around us and see what's in our environment, but we also have the ability to synthesize that and go on the way that we feel like we should.
Right. And all of the pages, it's like, just because I'm the Page of Swords doesn't mean I don't have feelings.
Right.
It just means that right now I'm in training and I'm, this is the thing I'm learning right now. Just like all of the pages, if they're in training to become a knight, all of the knights can fight, even though the Knight of Cups is like, very romantic, or, they still have a sword, like in a battle, a war horse. And it's
we
just,
talked about you didn't come to the book group. We talked about the Knight of Swords, and everybody agreed that they really didn't like this book very much, and we wouldn't buy it because it seemed like the woman was either really in a hurry, or she just didn't particularly like those two parts very much. We talked about the Three of Swords and the Knight of Cups, and she talked about the horse and the Knight of Cups or something, and went off on this tangent. And I said, if you look at the horse, because he was kind of, his head is kind of down and he's kind of looking and I said, the knight is carrying a cup that is, let's assume it's full of water or something. And so he has collected that horse. All right. When you're on a horse and you have the reins and the horse's head is kind of, it's called collecting. You collect the horse so that it doesn't run out from under you, which a trained war horse in the medieval times could very well run out from under you because they fought on their own. And if you're carrying this cup and you don't want to spill it before you get to the king or wherever you're going, you want to have your horse well collected underneath you so that you're in control of it. And, this woman did not seem to understand it. And then I was like, yes, it's emotions but it's also a sense of care and carefulness. Like, I just don't want to run in there and slosh this cup all over whoever I'm going to see, because that would be really rude, especially if it's the king. I could get beheaded because of that, So yeah, there's a lot of care there as well.
Yeah. I am right now, as far as the Fool and the Page kind of energy goes. This is very new, meeting every week with, friends for a specific purpose is a new thing for me. And I really like it. So, this is a lot of social for me. I'm not always around a lot of people that I'm not related to. So this is fun, and it's kind of a new experience. So I'm learning how to communicate, like, and how to sort of prepare for conversations. I guess I thought I did a pretty good job for today, but obviously something's not working right. Something's not firing today.
The heavens had other plans.
Yes. And also I am getting ready to do another training with Kia Miller. So I'm like, Page of Pentacles, kind of like getting my house all ready again. Like I'm gonna trade desks with my kiddos because theirs is smaller, and that'll give me more room to and more, you know, uh
More room to flail.
I guess. Yeah, room to flail. and so that's really exciting for me. And like as far as like the emotion, the cups, Page of Cups thing, there's been some stuff. I had an uncle pass away just a little while ago. It was really sad. And so I'm just sort of learning how to be sad and grieve, but not let it kind of make my whole life fall apart. um and so there's just a lot of, and I think most of the time most people we're always ending something and starting something new in our life. So
yeah.
And I think that thinking about the cards this way, more of it's a really great way to become a better reader for myself and for other people, because I can see how pretty much any card, these cards can show up in my life pretty much any time. And with the same thing with the Magician, I'm sort of learning like, okay, this is what I have and this is what I want to do with it. I need more of this here and less of it there. You know what I mean? And with the ace, I've got like a lot on offer right now. There's a lot of for me to choose from as far as what to do pretty much every day, like what facet of this journey do I want to focus on most today. So I think just kind of learning how to balance those two energies, because, with the Fool and the Page, you got to kind of be open to learning, but not super attached to how you're going to learn it or to how it's going to show up for you. And then with the Magician, you need to be just a little bit more, you don't want to get too wrapped up in I want this thing to happen, I want it to happen at this time in this exact way, but you need to have more of a focus so you know what you're heading for. I think with the Fool and the Pages, you're kind of like, okay, let's see what's going to happen. And once you start to get an idea of that, then that Magician energy sort of comes in, and you can start to figure out which direction you want to go with it. So, and I rejoined the yoga studio that I took a break from for a few months, which has been really fun. And
Good.
getting ready to do a challenge with that starting in September. It's a more like physical thing, which is always more of a challenge for me to engage with regularly, because I don't really like it. I don't like being sweaty. Like I'll talk your whole face off all day long about all of the yoga philosophy and the energy and Kundalini and Kriya and what it all means and how I put it all together and love to live with it in my life. But it's like, ooh, exercise. Will there be snacks?
Yeah,
So that's one of the things that I'm trying to bring more of a balance to in my life, because it is good for me, and I always do feel better when I get more movement in and stuff. It's just the initial getting
Shock.
myself up
Yeah.
and getting myself started. So there's, I'm in yoga words, I'm using tapas, which is discipline, and santosha, which is contentment. So, and I've made the commitment to be on my mat every single day. And even if I can't do the things that are, the teacher's doing. I'm going to stay there. I'm going to stay in the zone. I'm going to move how I can, and I'm going to do it every single day. So, and then the Santosha is contentment. So it's kind of like you got to take what comes and just be like, this is fine. It's fine. And so those are the things I'm working on. So I'm feeling like a lot of not Page of Swords and also Page of Cups. Just let it be and be what it is. And so that's how it's showing up for me right now.
It's very exciting, Angie. Very exciting. And I'm sorry to hear about your uncle.
Thank
But
you.
I love these new adventures. Like every time I speak to you, you're like starting a new asana is what I think it's called, or you're starting to do this, and I love it. And you it's like you start these things, but you also follow through on them and you do it to the end, and that's very like inspirational.
Well, I think this community too, being in community with these things is really what has helped me have the stick-to-itiveness, because you guys are very inspiring to me. I love that you're doing your moon thing, and Linda is getting ready to do training in a profession that I think you've talked about it for nearly as long as I've known you, wanting to do what you're getting ready to gear up.
Yeah, well, more so the last few years. I think I really kind of came to it when I was in Denver. Yeah, I read and I ordered that book, and I ordered a couple of other books because I know they're going to be sending me some coursework to do before I go, and so
you have to say what you're doing and see.
I'm going in October. I'm going to Cincinnati for it's an intensive. It's a weekend, but it's a 3-day weekend to train as an end of life doula, to work with people who are terminally ill and help them. Yeah, it's not clinical. It's not anything medical. It's all about how to, help them get their papers in a row, or help them write their own legacy if they want to do that, or what they want at the end of their life, after they're passed, and, that kind of thing. So, just be with them as much as they want, as much as or as little as they want. What it's up to them, but yeah. So
wow. So this whole process, you're basically embracing all of the swords, all of the pages.
Yeah, kind of. And I'm actually doing it for myself at the same time, even though I'm not terminal, so
how about Linda, when you take this course, this intensive course, is it a paying job?
Well, it can be a paying job, and that's the other thing that I have to find out. I mean, it will be a paying job. You don't do this for free, just like birth doulas don't do it for free, charged by the hour, I suppose, whatever that is. I guess you get to make your own decisions on that based on where you live and what all you're going to be doing and that kind of thing. But yeah, so it's, say you charge $25 an hour, and you come and you work with somebody to develop their, say they want to write their own obituary, so you got to ask them, well, your parents, what are your parents' names, and your brothers and sisters, your siblings and their spouses and their children, and get all that in a row. And some people might have all that, and some people might not even have thought about it, because they just either they didn't want to think about it, or they just figured, I'll do it someday. And then they end up, oh my God, I've got a terminal disease, and someday is here, and I've got to do this now because I only have a short period of time, so it just depends.
Is there an opportunity for you to work for a hospital or a hospice service?
It's possible. I think it's possible that maybe that's not really what I want to do. I really would prefer just to work privately.
So how are these?
I'm very excited for you. I'm sorry. I just want to say I'm very excited for you, Linda.
Thank you.
And I hope it works out for you. I hope you're able to develop a small little business for yourself in doing that.
Well, something, I don't, it doesn't necessarily have to be a business per se, but I'm just, right now I'm becoming a little bit, a lot jaded with the whole idea that everything you do has to be monetized. I mean, yes, I will charge money for the service because, that's how you do, but it's not like, not everything has to be, quote unquote, a business.
Well, when you say business,
and I know what you're saying.
It's more like, because you need to survive, right? You
Right.
need money to pay bills. You need money
Right.
to make food.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you need to be able to do that, right? You can't be
Yeah.
there to help other people if you can't help.
No, I totally
yourself
get,
first.
I totally get that, and I understand it.
Angie was just about asking me, like, so how are the pages showing up in my life right now? And I, right now, this whole new moon circle groups is really like just heavily, heavily, heavily on my mind. And that's like my other thing, because I know lots of people get paid to facilitate them, right? You can do them online and give a donation. You go to places and you do a donation. And as much as like I want to ask for money, I don't want to ask for money. Like for me, it's my way of giving back to a community.
Right.
It's also my way, I think, for me, for my healing and my journey and my self-growth. And I guess if I was in a situation where I really needed to have the money in order to survive and do this, then I probably would. But like, as of right now, like the idea of even charging anybody anything is like, no, I don't want, to do that. But anyway, so the pages are really showing up for me. Like, the Page of Wands, I'm like really feeling, it's like this excitement, and I feel so inspired. And I think after I got the nerve to email Shannon about it, and her reply was pretty positive, I just felt even more inspired, and I just felt like a freaking kid, when you're like taking a kid to a candy store, you're taking a kid to an amusement park, and you're like, oh my God, this is wonderful and so exciting. Like, I really, really feel that, and I feel like I'm finally going to be able to give back in a way that is meaningful to me, like just this idea of setting this up. And I think too, like with the Page of Pentacles, this idea of creating a space for people to be able to do, a small amount of inner work in these circles.
Well, if you ever want to practice, you got a couple of guinea pigs here.
I know, I've been thinking about that too. And thank you so much. Cause I was, depending on like what Shannon says, I may have like some time before I do the first one. So I was thinking about it, but I'll tell you more about that later.
Okay.
Yeah. So like the Page of Pentacles, it's like, I want to create this safe, sacred space, for people to come in and talk and create a space where they can feel vulnerable, and create something that will help to inspire them to want
Absolutely.
to like continue working on themselves, And then I think like with the Page of Cups, it's again like the Page of Cups and the Page of Pentacles working together, right? If I can create this space, then I can show them that it's a place where you can be vulnerable, right? Because then I myself need to be vulnerable. I need to open myself up emotionally to the experience, to be a listener, to develop like relationships with these other people, right? Because that's all part of it. And I think too, with the Page of Cups, it's not only dealing with our emotions, but it's also our relationships with people and with ourselves,
right.
And
right.
It's exciting for me to know that, I'm creating a space for others as well as myself, to deepen my relationship, with me and other people. And hopefully they'll be able to do the same for themselves. So when I look at just this one process of starting a circle and how I can incorporate every single page into that whole process is like, amazing to me. Like, I guess I never really saw it that way until I sat down to prepare for this episode. And I think too, then the ACEs, like the ACEs were part of it in the very beginning, months ago.
Right.
When I had the idea, like that root idea, and I'm like, you know what, I can do this. Like, I can do this. I have the potential to do this. And I think with all the ACEs, just like with the pages, and then I went out and I took the course, and now, like, I'm a trained facilitator, and I feel more confident that I can now do this. And
that's cool. So where did you take this course? I didn't realize you had done that.
Yeah, I did this back in, it started in May, and it's through the Wild Woman Project by Chris
you mentioned
Maddox.
them before. Yeah.
So, like, I know her training and her material and such really focuses on women. And I know with where I want to do this, I'm going to have to change some things around, because it's not only women that are, involved in the symposium. So, I have to change some things up, but then that's a challenge for me, right? Because then it's also me being respectful of, others' genders and how they identify with themselves. And that's part of our world. And I have to, like, learn, Page of Swords. I have to learn how, how to do that. And stuff. So I'm really excited.
That's
about
really cool,
the whole experience.
I hope it works out for you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll definitely show up for that. And if you wanna set up an extra meeting with us, or
absolutely,
totally, that would be so much fun. Yes.
Yeah, I think I would like to do that, just to kind of go through the flow, and then to practice the meditation part, because it's like with her structure, there's always like a visual meditation, and that's to me is like one of the really important parts of it, because that's where you're getting everybody to kind of really go deep and explore the topic, and that's where you're finding what it is you're going to set your intention for, or just all of that.
It's a great way to set group coherence as well around when you're coming together for an event, or a ritual like this, starting out with a meditation where everyone just kind of gets their minds on the same page, and you can kind of feel everyone in the unified field. Like, this is the stuff I will talk your whole face off about every day, all the time.
Yeah, when my friend who passed away, when she was still undergoing treatment, we used to do. So we started doing this thing called we called it the Circle of Light. And so we would pick a day, and Melanie didn't always know about it, but, and we'd say, okay, at 7:00, wherever we are, or at 7:00, sometimes we just, pick, it's 7:00 my time, 8:00, 9:00, whatever. So we were whatever the word is.
Coordinated.
Yeah, exactly. We were all at the same time anyway. Yeah. But I told him, I said, well, when I do this, here's what I do. I envision a map. I envision a map of the United States. And I see myself, we started it when I was in Colorado. I said, I see myself in Colorado. I see you in Little Rock, Arkansas. I see you in New Orleans. I see you in Atlanta. I see you in Atlanta, where you are. I see you in Charleston, South Carolina. I see you in Virginia. I see you in New Jersey, Melanie's in New Jersey, and I see these lines of energy that go from each point like a web. And that's what I see when I think about this. And all these glowing lines are coming together, and they're all going to New Jersey. And they were like, oh, wow. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly how I visualize it. And so, yeah.
That's funny, because you say that in one of the meditations that are, so when I took this course, after you finish it, then you get access to like a library, like a huge library of resources and themes and things that you can do to help get you started. And one of the biggest ones that they do is this heart light meditation at the very end of the thing. And that's kind of like what you're saying is a bit about what they talk about, you know, and how these strings of lights that come together, and the light that emanates from your heart and coming together like a web, you know, and then you're like lifting your body up, and now you're no longer in the circle, but now you're outside of your home, and you're seeing this vast connection of this heart light, you know, and it's just like such a beautiful thing. Like I've done it a few times, like just a beautiful thing to picture in your head. And it was funny because just the other day I was doing some research on the how like our hearts are electric, right? And this electromagnetic field that we emanate, and how it is the largest field that we emanate comes from our heart. You know, it's even more than our brain and any other part of our body. And, you know, when they just give you that diagram, and it's like, wow, like you just like, I know it in theory, right? I know it exists, but it's like when you see it and as you're visualizing it, you're like, holy shit, you know? And then when you start to think about when you're around other people and you stop to really just feel and sense, it's like you feel an energy. Like I don't feel like a zapping, but I have a knowing of, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like I have to
I know
learn.
exactly where you're, because when you say somebody and you meet somebody and you say, oh, they're not on my frequency, that's literally I mean, you can be vibrating at unsympathetic frequencies, and that could be a big part of why you don't get along with them.
You guys,
you might think, oh, it's just your personality or whatever, but it's like you could be close to them and just feel like something's not vibing, and because your vibes are so different, literally you're vibrating differently, that's going to be something that's going to be hard to get over unless you can find some common ground where you can vibrate on the same frequency.
Yep. So I have experienced the physical sensation of moving energy just because I do a lot of meditating and I do a lot of raising of energy. And to me, it feels like, you know, when you can feel like there's going to be a static shock. You can feel like that sensation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's like that, but it's just like kind of pressing against you. It doesn't feel like you're going to get shocked. You can just,
it's like surface tension.
Like you can almost kind of feel your hairs move. Like if you rub your hands together really quickly, I'm sure, you know, everybody has done that. And then you can feel that kind of movement of the atom.
It's almost like the poles, you know, where your magnet is going to repel.
Yeah.
But you just get to that point before it repels. Like, and when I do my chakra shield, I do that at the beginning, and my field is like here, and I do my chakra shield and I do it, and my field is here.
Yep.
It expands in immensely. This shit is
That's
real.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100% real. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the things that I do as a yoga practitioner are to raise that energy and to stabilize it, to raise my own vibration and to stabilize it. And, you know, people talk a lot about these Kundalini awakenings, which are these violent, fantastic, and okay, it does happen sometimes to people, but mostly Kundalini awakens a little bit at a time, because it's the continued repetition of engaging this every day and learning how to, because, you know, you get a Kundalini awakening and goody gumdrops, you've got a feeling of oneness and no separation, and then somebody does something to piss you off and you're right back where you were.
You know, that's the old saying, after
that kind, that level.
Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. You know, it's you know, the laundry still has to be done.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
Just because you're enlightened doesn't make the laundry is going to be
incredible to see the ripple effect of these practices. And I don't just mean not just yoga, but any kind of energetic thing that you do, like Kate are talking about, sharing of yourself and opening your own heart and letting others feel that part of you, and allowing and knowing that you're safe in doing so because you
Yeah.
built the container where you're going
Right.
to do it.
Yeah.
And you know that everybody is there for the same thing. And there's a lot of that, with yoga as well. And there is also a protective element. The
Well,
more
it's just like
centered
you said
calm
earlier,
your own-
I think you were talking earlier about, when you it is like that ripple effect, and some people may come to it and they'll be very closed off and they'll be very damaged or very hurt. But if they can come into a place where that's acknowledged and they're allowed to just be who they are and know that even if everything else is crap, they can come here for an hour or an hour and a half and just be and be accepted for that,
And
engage with other people who accept them, then, over time that those encounters will add up to where that person feels less hurt in the world.
Yes.
And learns how to, be more open to everyday experiences and to be more accepting of their own selves. And
Well,
when
a
they're
lot of
more
people-
accepting of their own self, then they are able to be more accepting of people, in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, once again, this was a fabulous conversation.
Absolutely.
And I think that we gave our listeners a lot to think about, because I know from my experience when you're working with the court cards, it's probably one of the most confusing cards or set of cards too. So, I'm hoping that we maybe made it a little bit easier for, some of the newer people into tarot, and then some of those that are a little bit more, a veteran at it, that maybe we, hopefully gave them a different way to kind of look at the pages. And even, if I could have them walk away with something, it would be to take those pages and look at them and say, oh, how am I embodying these pages in my everyday life? It doesn't have to be this big, grand, life altering experience.
No.
It's just look in your daily life, what you're doing on a daily basis, or what is it that I am like starting to work on?
Right.
What is it that, a project, do I want to, am I looking at my backyard and saying, oh, I would love to have a little garden, right? That's, page energy when you start to, explore what kind of plants you want to put back there. But yeah, so, just take those cards and just look at them, embody them, think about them, and find somewhere in your daily life that, you can associate with each of the cards. And I think that makes a huge difference in learning and understanding
Definitely.
the vast nature of it.
If you're feeling challenged anywhere, you can sit down with the pages and go, okay, well, how can I become more curious about the solution? Because a lot of times when you're feeling stuck or challenged, you're just over it. You don't want to think about it anymore.
Right.
You just, you want to either force a solution or you just want to avoid it or whatever. If you can tap into some of that page energy and maybe see how some curiosity and maybe a little patience without, maybe just kind of stand like you were talking about earlier, how the pages just sort of stand and they watch the person that they're training to become, basically.
Yeah.
See what you can learn and don't be so very hard on yourself and expect everything to just be perfect all the time, because we all have challenges, and when you face resistance, that's how you know that you're just about to come through to the other side.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, ladies, for a very stimulating conversation.
As always.
And we will see each other next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Yes.
All right.